Look at it. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, they're going to have a big fight. There goes Owens. Puts it down. And George Teague levels it.
Because he done finished the game. Ice up, son. Ice up.
Talk bad about that shit. Go talk bad about that shit. Let's talk shit about that.
Antonio Brown.
Keyshawn Johnson, the blueprint. Before social media, before ESPN debates, before touchdown celebrations became art forms, there was a rookie with the audacity to write a book before he played a single snap in the NFL. The title? Just give me the damn ball. Keyshawn Johnson didn't demand the football, he demanded respect for his position. See, in 1996, wide receivers were considered supporting actors. Running backs got the glory, quarterbacks got the credit, receivers caught what they were given and stayed quiet. Johnson looked at that system and said, absolutely not. Drafted first overall, a spot almost never given to receivers, Keyshawn walked into the NFL like he owned it. He criticized coaches publicly, called out quarterbacks in team meetings, made sure defenders knew exactly when they'd been beaten. But here's the thing about Keyshawn that most people miss. He wasn't just demanding attention, he was demanding respect for an entire position. Every time he yelled, "Throw me the ball," he was really saying, my position matters as much as yours. In any competitive environment, you either define your value or others define it for you. Johnson chose to define it loudly. Most rookies ask for a playbook. Keyshawn showed up with a publishing contract and a blueprint for receiver empowerment that every diva who followed would study. Terrell Owens, the performance artist. If Keyshawn was the architect of receiver rebellion, Terrell Owens was the greatest performer. T.O. understood something fundamental about human psychology. We remember emotion more than statistics. You might forget his exact yardage totals, but you'll never forget him dancing on the Cowboys star at midfield or pulling a Sharpie from his sock to autograph a football. But the real genius and tragedy of Terrell Owens was his understanding of leverage through chaos. When Philadelphia suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team, T.O. didn't retreat. He turned his driveway into a stage, shirtless workouts while helicopters circled overhead. It was ridiculous. It was brilliant. It was pure theater. See, Owens had cracked the code of modern athletics. Controversy equals relevance, and relevance equals power. Every headline kept his name in circulation. Every drama reminded teams what they were missing. The psychology was sophisticated. He made himself the story so completely that teams couldn't ignore him even when they wanted to. He weaponized attention. But here's where the story gets complex. That same ego that fueled his greatness eventually consumed his relationships. Jeff Garcia, Donovan McNabb, Tony Romo. Every quarterback partnership followed the same arc. Honeymoon, tension, explosion. The infamous press conference where T.O. defended Tony Romo through tears, "That's my quarterback," revealed the contradiction at his core. He desperately wanted to be loved by the same people he couldn't stop alienating. Ego can be rocket fuel for performance, but it makes every relationship temporary. The very trait that makes you special can make you unemployable. The NFL fined him for celebrations. They should have built HBO for the entertainment value. Chad Ochocinco, the marketing genius. While other receivers fought for respect, Chad Johnson fought for relevance through pure creativity. Ochocinco understood that in a league where receiver success depends entirely on quarterback decision-making, you can't be ignored if you're always entertaining. So he turned every touchdown into a variety show, proposing to cheerleaders, dancing the river dance, handing out dollar bills to fans. He even legally changed his name to Ochocinco just to keep people talking. But beneath the antics was sophisticated route running and football intelligence. Chad was a technician who used showmanship as a strategic weapon. Every celebration bought him goodwill with fans, which created pressure on coaches to keep feeding him targets. The psychology was brilliant. He made cutting him or benching him feel like punishing the audience. Coaches couldn't just evaluate his football value, they had to consider his entertainment value. Attention is currency, but once you start spending it, it starts spending you. The person becomes secondary to the persona. Ochocinco ran slants on the field and marketing campaigns off it, and both got him open. Randy Moss, effortless arrogance. Randy Moss represented something different. Talent so pure, it didn't need validation, which made his indifference somehow more devastating than everyone else's desperation. When reporters asked him how he'd pay a fine, his response, Straight cash, homie? Wasn't just swagger, it was a philosophy. Money didn't matter. Effort was optional. Greatness was inevitable. That's what made Moss terrifying to opponents and teammates alike. He could dominate while appearing bored. In Oakland, when his production dropped, he openly admitted he wasn't trying as hard. Most players would lie. Most treated honesty like another weapon. The fake moon at Lambeau Field perfectly captured his psychology. I'm going to disrespect you. You'll be outraged, and I'll smile because your anger proves I got to you. When talent is unmatched, effort becomes a choice, but optional effort always comes with hidden costs. Respect, relationships, legacy. Moss showed that you can be so good that rules don't apply to you, but he also showed that eventually, even exceptional talent needs to care about something beyond itself. Steve Smith Sr. Controlled violence. Steve Smith Sr. turned the receiver position into personal warfare. At 5'9" and 185 pounds, Smith couldn't rely on size or speed alone, so he weaponized pride, turning every route into a grudge match and every catch into a statement. "Iced up, son." His taunt to Aqib Talib after torching him wasn't just trash talk. It was psychological warfare designed to live in defenders' heads long after the game ended. Smith understood that football is ultimately about imposing your will on another human being. His intensity wasn't just competitive fire, it was strategic intimidation designed to make bigger, stronger players question themselves. Pride can be your greatest weapon, but only if you can control it. Uncontrolled pride cuts both ways. Smith's career proved that in football, being feared can be more valuable than being liked. Respect earned through intensity lasts longer than respect given through talent alone. Dez Bryant, the emotional hostage. Picture this. It's fourth quarter. Cowboys need a score. The cameras find Dez Bryant on the sideline, helmet off, arms flailing like he's conducting an orchestra of chaos. This wasn't passion. This was desperation made visible. Dez had become an emotional hostage to his own expectations. Every game that didn't feature him as the star felt like a personal betrayal. His sideline meltdowns weren't about wanting the ball. They were about needing to matter. The psychology here cuts deep. Bryant had confused being passionate with being dramatic. He thought volume equaled value. Every outburst was really him screaming, "Don't forget I exist." But here's the cruel irony. The more he demanded attention, the more he proved he couldn't handle not having it. Teams started seeing him as high maintenance instead of high impact. The tantrums that were supposed to get him more targets eventually got him cut. Desperation for relevance becomes the very thing that makes you irrelevant. The loudest person in the room rarely controls the room. Dallas finally released him in 2018. The silence that followed was deafening. Brandon Marshall, the practice room terrorist. Brandon Marshall didn't save his best performances for Sunday. He delivered them Monday through Saturday, turning every practice into a masterclass in volatility. The football punt across the field wasn't just frustration, it was a grown man having a public breakdown while 52 teammates watched. Fighting coaches during film sessions, screaming at coordinators during walkthroughs. Marshall turned preparation time into performance art. But here's what made Marshall fascinating. He was genuinely talented enough to make teams tolerate the chaos. Coaches would watch him terrorize practice, then watch him dominate games, and convince themselves the drama was worth it. The psychology reveals something darker about enablement in competitive environments. Teams kept trading for Marshall because his Sunday production made his Monday through Saturday insanity feel manageable, until it wasn't. Talent can buy you tolerance for toxic behavior, but the bill always comes due. Every workplace has a breaking point. Marshall didn't need Hard Knocks cameras to create drama. He was a one-man reality show with cleats. Josh Gordon, the Phantom Superstar. In 2013, Josh Gordon caught 87 passes for 1,646 yards in just 14 games. Those aren't numbers, they're cheat codes. But Gordon's real opponent was never the safety over the top. It was the NFL substance abuse policy, and that matchup was never close. Every Gordon comeback felt like watching a ghost try to become human again. The talent was undeniable. Route running so smooth it looked computer generated. Hands that made impossible catches look routine. But substance abuse kept dragging him back to the shadow realm. Teams kept signing him because hope is a drug too. Every workout video, every "this time is different" interview, every training camp report fed the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, the talent would outlast the demons. Some battles are bigger than football, and the most tragic divas are the ones fighting wars the cameras can't see. Defenses couldn't stop Gordon. The drug test did what all-pro cornerbacks couldn't. Antonio Brown, the meltdown masterpiece. Let's be clear about Antonio Brown. This was a real-time documentary on what happens when validation addiction meets social media amplification. The helmet grievances, the frozen feet saga, the mid-game strip show in Tampa Bay, shirt off, arms raised, jogging off the field like he just won an Oscar instead of quitting mid-play. But here's what makes AB's collapse psychologically fascinating. Every destructive behavior followed the exact same pattern as his successful ones. The confidence that made him great became the arrogance that destroyed him. The refusal to be told what to do went from competitive advantage to unemployable liability. Brown's social media became a live-stream mental health crisis. Every post, every video, every rant was him screaming into the void, desperately trying to control a narrative that had already spiraled beyond control. The cruelest part? He documented his own destruction. Future generations will study Antonio Brown's Twitter timeline like a psychological case study in real-time ego collapse. The traits that create your success contain the exact DNA of your destruction. The greatest strength and greatest weakness are often the same thing. AB went from Mr. Big Chest to Mr. Big Mess, and he live-streamed the entire transformation. Odell Beckham Jr., The Curse of Perfection. November 23rd, 2014, Odell Beckham Jr. makes the catch. One hand, full extension, prime time. Psychics-defying magic that turned him into an instant icon. That moment also became his prison. See, OBJ didn't just make a great catch, he made the kind of catch that redefines what's possible. Every subsequent reception was measured against that impossible standard. Every game became about recreating lightning in a bottle. The boat trip before the playoff game wasn't really about partying. It was about a young man trying to feel normal when everyone expected him to be supernatural. The sideline meltdowns weren't just about drops or missed targets. They were about the crushing weight of living up to your own highlight reel. Beckman's career became a study in how peak moments can become psychological burdens. He spent years chasing the feeling of that one perfect catch, like an addict chasing their first high. The greatest moment can become your greatest burden. Sometimes immortality feels more like imprisonment. OBJ didn't just catch footballs, he caught expectations that no human could consistently meet. Diontae Johnson, the contract terrorist. Some divas create drama through celebrations, others through social media. Diontae Johnson creates drama through pure, calculated leverage. Picture this. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Your best receiver suddenly stops showing up to mandatory team activities. He's not injured. He's not suspended. He's just absent. Why? Because he wants a new contract, and he's willing to hold the entire offense hostage until he gets it. Johnson perfected the art of professional pouting. Skip voluntary workouts. Fine, everyone does that. But skip mandatory minicamp? Now you're speaking a language front offices understand. Desperation disguised as leverage. Here's what makes Johnson's approach psychologically sophisticated. He doesn't rant on social media or blow up in press conferences. He just disappears. The silence becomes the statement. The absence becomes the argument. But Johnson miscalculated something crucial about leverage. It only works when the other side needs you more than you need them. Pittsburgh called his bluff and traded him to Carolina mid-season, where his production immediately dropped. Playing games with your value often reveals you have less of it than you thought. The person who threatens to leave better be irreplaceable. Johnson turned contract negotiations into psychological warfare. Unfortunately for him, Pittsburgh had better weapons. The modern era, digital divas. Today's receiver divas operate in a completely different ecosystem. Tyreek Hill builds brands around speed. DK Metcalf turns emotions into memes. Stephon Diggs makes body language an art form. Justin Jefferson turns touchdown dances into global phenomena. They've learned to weaponize attention without destroying relationships, to build drama without burning bridges. They understand that in the social media age, being ignored is worse than being criticized. But the fundamental psychology remains the same. Elite athletes who need to be seen, validated, remembered. The medium changes, from books to tweets to TikTok dancers, but the hunger stays constant. Which diva broke your team's heart the most?